think I've been pretty open about how much I love The Devil in Me. Yes, it's got issues. The new mechanics aren't particularly well implemented, and it doesn't feature the series' best character work, but what can I say? I treasure The Thing. I love the setting. I love Charlie, and I'm absolutely obsessed with Grantham Dumet. All two of him. I'm happy to put it as the second best game in the first season of The Dark Pictures, although it's a distant second because that's just how good House of Ashes is. Now, obviously, the good folks at Supermassive Games haven't been shy about discussing the inspiration for their games. They've been open about the fact that House of Ashes is basically an adaptation of At the Mountains of Madness, which makes it interesting that Directive 8020 is inspired by The Thing, since The Thing is also largely inspired by At the Mountains of Madness, basically functioning as a blending of that story with the creature and threat from Who Goes There, rather than Elder Things and Shoggoths. That said, the Blair monster from the end of the movie is pretty obviously a Shoggoth, as it's an undifferentiated mass of teeth and pseudopods with a couple of faces here and there. There's plenty of things that have inspired them that they haven't extensively talked about, though. For example, there's the way that two memorable moments were cribbed from the amazing video game The Evil Within 2, and then dropped into Little Hope and House of Ashes. Or the fact that the movie The Cave provided inspiration both for the design of the Bat monsters in House of Ashes, as well as this diving sequence in Man of Medan. Which brings me to what I believe to be the main inspiration for The Devil in Me. Specifically, its threat and its overall vibes. Now, the game is trap horror, so it's natural for people to tie it into the movie Saw. I'm sure I name-checked Saw more than once in my approximately 36 videos about the game. The buzzsaw trap with the neck chains where you have to pull someone into the blades or you both get killed is literally an adaptation of a trap from the movie Saw 4. The difference being that in The Devil in Me one, it's a husband and wife pulling against one another, whereas the hook in Saw 4 is that one guy can't see and one guy can't speak, which honestly super unfair to the guy who can't see. There's also a scene where someone gets crushed next to a glass coffin in Saw 5, so it's not surprising that they've been open about Saw being a point of inspiration for them, especially the aspect of the story that involves people being pitted against one another and making difficult choices about survival, which comes up again and again in the Saw movies. But there's one major element of The Devil in Me that isn't cribbed from the Saw movies, and that's the fact that during the whole trap ordeal, there's a Jason running around, controlling the traps, taunting the heroes, and sometimes just flat out attacking and killing them. Which is why I think that the Saw franchise isn't the most direct inspiration for The Devil in Me, considering that there's a movie out there about a Jason who has built an evil trap-filled lair in an abandoned hotel, who taunts the characters while operating the traps as he leads them through a deadly maze, and also surgically experiments on them to create bizarre artistic presentation pieces. Also, there's mannequins all over the place, some of them with speakers broadcasting the screams of victims. So, yeah, that's a lot of points of comparison between The Devil in Me and the movie I'm talking about. Which is what, exactly? Quick aside about how I stumbled on this revelation, which is an embarrassing thing to say, because I saw the movie a few times when it originally came out and really should have made the connection already. The point is, I co-host a podcast called Profiling Criminal Minds, which, fun fact, is one of only 2 podcasts that canonically exist within the TV show Criminal Minds. We talk about criminal minds, naturally, but between seasons of that, we look at other serial killer-related fiction and, more importantly for this subject, celebrate the work of Josh Stewart, the greatest living American actor. If you're not familiar with Josh Stewart, here's a clip of him from the movie The Dark Knight Rises, unless that gets copyright claimed, in which case, here's some screenshots of him from the movie The Dark Knight Rises.
We don't have enough men to stop 12 million people from leaving this island.
No, we don't. But you do.
The point is, he's the best, so we're gradually watching everything he's ever been in. Which is what, to make a long story slightly shorter, brought us to the movies The Collector and its sequel, The Collection. If you haven't heard of this amazing franchise, here's a quick primer. The movie Saw came out in 2004. It was such a hit that Lionsgate wanted a sequel immediately, like it had to be ready for the next Halloween. The creators of Saw weren't interested in trying to make a movie on that timeline, so Lionsgate went looking for a script that could easily be adapted into a Saw 2. They found Darren Lynn Bousman's script, The Desperate, and hired him to direct the movie, with Lee Winnell, the writer of Saw, helping to rewrite it into a Saw film. After that, Winnell and director of the original Saw, James Wan, came back for Saw 3, intending to kill off Jigsaw and Amanda, wrapping up the franchise. While those characters did in fact get killed off, Lionsgate had no interest in stopping the franchise, which is where Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan enter the story. Their script was the winner of the horror movie season of the Project Greenlight reality show, which followed the development of an actual feature film each year. The film that got made, Feast, is not particularly good, but it got them the attention they needed to get the most important job of their career, taking over writing the Saw franchise. They would go on to write Saws 4, 5, 6, and 3D, which is just Saw 7. I don't know why they got fancy with the title. While working on the Saw films, they came up with an idea for a prequel about how Jigsaw got started and his early murders. Lionsgate did not want to fund their idea as a Saw movie, but the writers knew that they had the core of something interesting, so they changed the script to make it an original trap horror film, which is how the Collector franchise was born. I cannot recommend these movies highly enough. If you can suspend your disbelief for the absolutely preposterous amount of work that the Collector has to put in to booby-trap the house where the film is set, then you'll have a chance to enjoy one of the most tense, brutal horror films I've ever seen. Most of why it works is down to Josh Stewart, who's on screen for like 60% of the movie and doesn't speak for the majority of it. It's an incredible performance, but that said, it is an insanely unpleasant film at times, being actively sleazy and cruel at every opportunity. It can be a hard watch, but I'd pick it over any of the Saw movies, with the possible exceptions of 6 and 10. The Collector, while not a Saw-level hit, although it absolutely deserved to be, and I'm guessing the fact that its killer was a silent Jason creep rather than a quotably iconic weirdo like Jigsaw, is largely the reason why, it was successful enough to warrant a sequel 3 years later, The Collection. Now, I'm not going to spoil the whole movie here, since I can't stress enough how much you need to see it if you haven't. But suffice to say, it's designed quite obviously to be the aliens to the Collector's Alien, with Josh Stewart's character acting as a Ripley figure, press-ganged into leading a group of Marines into danger because he's the only one who has information about the killer's methods and whereabouts. As I mentioned, I'd seen and loved this when it first came out, but had gone more than a decade without watching it. So while I remembered the basic plot of the film, I was blindsided by just how much it felt like The Devil in Me. Again, the killer has taken over an abandoned hotel and transformed it into a maze of traps. The killer has a surgical theater where he performs horrific medical experiments on people, hollowing out their insides. The killer removes people's body parts and rearranges them, creating bizarre works of art. He has an old-timey office, including his professional credentials on the wall. He has strangely decorated mannequins all over the place. Some of the mannequins have speakers in them, broadcasting the screams of their victims. He's known to stab people with hooks and hoist them into the air. And when it looks like you might have a chance of escaping the whole trap and stalk thing, he'll just give up on his theme and grab a gun to shoot you with. While it's not one-to-one by any means, there's so many points of comparison that it's hard not to see the collection as a major source of inspiration for The Devil in Me. But maybe that's appropriate, since the collection itself was likely at least partially inspired by the video game Condemned Criminal Origins. Now that might seem like a stretch, but consider what is, by far, the strangest part of the movie The Collection. In addition to his building traps and murdering people, the film's killer has a deeply strange side project, in which he'll take some of the people he kidnaps, pumps them full of drugs to drive them insane, surgically attaches mannequin faces to them, and then keeps them in cages so he can let them out to attack should anyone break into his lair. This is such a weird part of the movie. The crazed killers don't take down any of the characters, and they could be excised from the film completely without anyone noticing they were gone. Of course, since the movie is already only 69 minutes long if you don't count the credits, you probably shouldn't take them out. But the point is, we're pretty clear about the collector's motivations and theme. He loves murder, he wants to collect and preserve perfect examples of people. Nowhere in this MO does the concept of use a drug cocktail to create rage zombies that you also dress up like mannequins neatly fit in. Which is why it feels like this is a tribute to Condemned Criminal Origins. The series of games about an FBI agent. In the first game, a doughy, relatable guy voiced by Greg Grunberg. In the second, he's reimagined as a generic buff action game hero, voiced by prolific voice actor Andrei Soliutso, who finds himself battling rage zombies in an urban decay setting while chasing a serial killer. Although these rage zombies are turned crazy by sonic weapons rather than drugs. There's even a sequence where the player has to explore an abandoned department store, and the rage zombies have been transformed into mannequins. It all feels too close to be a coincidence. There's even a few scenes of the killer posing mannequins and corpses to create tableaus, bringing us all the way back around to The Devil in Me by way of the collection. It's an intriguing set of connections, and it's fascinating to see how inspiration filters down from one piece of art to the next. And let's face it, mixing murder tableaus and urban decay is ultimately all of these creators nodding to Seven in one way or another. But I'm always excited to find the things that inspired my favorite pieces of art, if only so I have more interesting pieces of media to check out. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is, you should definitely watch the collector movies before the third one comes out. And it's worth it to check out Condemned Criminal Origins if you have a couple of dollars to spare. It's one of the best things Monolith ever made, and with that studio closing down because of Warner Brothers' incompetence, it's a perfect time to celebrate just what amazing things they accomplished. You will have a hard time playing Condemned 2 Bloodshot, sadly, since it was never ported to PC and is not backwards compatible. I might just break out my Xbox and see if my old save files are there. There was an unlockable infinite ammo setting that let you just breeze through the game, shooting all of the guys who exclusively attack you with melee weapons like you're a gritty modern Indiana Jones. For now though, I've been the Hidden Object Guru. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time and you'd like to see more of this, buttons coming up to help with that. Questions, comments, suggestions for topics to cover, go in the comments section below the video. Play my game, Clown in the Woods, over at itch.io. It's a free blast. We'll see you back here for more supermassive games. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.